And thanks everyone for joining. You must be aware Trey is with us for last 3 months doing internship and really second half of his internship. He helped us to do a lot of scans and involved in day-to-day activities. Today is his last day and he's going to give his final presentation like what he did in his internship and in last 3 months. Trey, you can start
Awesome.
now.
Sounds great. Well, thank you all for being here. It means a lot for y'all taking out each of your time to come and view my presentation and hear a little bit about my time here. It's been an amazing privilege working the past 13 weeks here at IBM, and I would love to share a little bit about what I did and what it's helped me and how it's helped me grow in my studies and knowledge of cybersecurity. So when I first got the internship at IBM, I was very new to this. I was going in from my sophomore to junior year at UNCW studying computer science. I knew that I wanted to do an internship due to some things that my friends had done and talked about. I thought it would be a good way and opportunity to gain some experience and learn a little bit more about the field of cybersecurity. So something to start, well, was I nervous? And simply put, the answer is yeah, I was very nervous for mainly two big reasons. One, I was going to work not only for a company, but a very large and successful enterprise, one that most knew worldwide for being a very big in the tech industry, being an industry leader. The second part was, well, quite frankly, I was about to join a team of people who have been doing this stuff for some over 20, 30 plus years. It was a very big deal because I was like, I don't want to come in and mess up. So I was extremely nervous. However, that nervousness soon faded and I became very eager. As I was introduced to some of the best people I've ever met, people that were kind and caring, that wanted to help lift me up and taught me that it's okay to make mistakes and to ask questions, that I'm here to learn. And the knowledge that they have isn't extremely expected of me, but they wanted to help and encourage to lift me up and help guide me on that path to doing stuff that they have done in their past as well. So yeah, I became very eager. See, I had known a little bit about cybersecurity before starting this internship, or so I thought. You see it in the news all the time. This data breach, this company had this data breach. And so when surfing online and kind of observing the norm, I wanted to find a career or type of profession in cybersecurity. But I didn't really know what they did. To me, I thought, hey, they might just hack the company and then figure out how to unhack it. And that was my biggest misconception coming in here. What did I think I would be doing? Well, something along the lines of that. And I was wrong. And I'm glad that I was wrong. And here's why. So, what did I do at IBM? Well, first, I read this book, SecOps for Dummies. Just kidding, but I think it's very interesting that they have a book like that, and might be something I pick up in my future. But seriously, I started here. So I remember on my first week, I was able to work with Srini and Wei Li about laying out a plan of what they wanted me to accomplish here. What was the end goal? What did I want to do? And how to successfully get there without overloading myself and making me feel as if though I couldn't handle this. And so this was kind of the plan that we went through. We went through learning about some of the tools and in what order we wanted to. So to start, QRadar. Now, this was one that I had heard a little bit about at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. I am on the cybersecurity defense team where we have collegiate competitions. IBM does host either 2 or 3 of those competitions out of the year, and they have made us privy to using their tool, QRadar, in the actual competitions. So I looked up a little bit about it and read, okay, it logs stuff, I guess people logging in or what stuff's happening on the network, but I didn't truly understand what QRadar really did until coming to IBM, that is. Some of the work experience that I was able to do and things that I learned from it was to start collecting the QRadar evidence. So this taught me a couple of things. This taught me about how to make sure systems are logging properly and why it is important to. You have a great tool in front of you, something that is very widely used and is going to go towards the success of keeping a secure network. However, if you don't keep the logs of it, if you don't check and make sure that all systems are logging properly, then it's kind of useless to you. The next thing that I really got out of QRadar from here was the log hunting review sessions. These were huge. I was able to lead, I think, 2 or 3 log hunting review sessions where probably was a little bit behind the gap, but it was something and a very good experience that I had. However, what I learned most from these experience calls was that I would sit and listen and observe what others, such as Pavel and Srini, were saying around me. Things as to what vulnerability is this? Why are we getting this message and error and feedback? And on one screen, I would be watching what they were doing, and on the other, I'd be looking up stuff through Google, trying to learn more about certain vulnerabilities that they are talking about. The next tool that I came to know was inventory. So inventory kind of goes off of what we were saying, how to keep and collect logs and checking if our vulnerability scans and health check scans are all running properly. This is a huge thing, and it taught me a couple of things through experience. So the first was collecting that evidence, like I just stated. Collecting evidence was huge and was something that I was able to find all through inventory, whether systems are logging, how long they've been logging, if they're healthy. The next thing was organizing and cleanup of systems. So this was something that I did. It was a project that Srini asked me to do, but there are thousands and thousands that are backed up in inventory. Some active, some not. And in order to figure out which ones are and aren't, you have to cross-reference. So I had a spreadsheet of thousands of IPs and host names, and I wanted to solve and be able to break those down into finding the ones that were active and the ones weren't. So here I was able to use Microsoft Excel and write a couple of formulas and do some of my own research on how to make sure that it's worked and worked correctly, and able to minimize that in a matter of minutes instead of having to do it one by one with time that could potentially take weeks. So that was also a great experience to see how I could use something more or less from school using Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and implement it into an actual business setting. The next thing was Security Center. Out of all of them, this one might have just been my favorite. So I didn't know anything about Security Center before coming in, and it seemed as if this one I got a little bit of experience on. I probably came across the most problems with this, and so it opened up the most opportunities for me to learn. So I learned a little bit about the CIS benchmarks. I went over some of that with Srini and learned the importance and why they are there and being set in place. And I also learned what Security Center actually did. So my work experience and things that I learned from it. So the first one was running scans on various systems. So after learning a little bit about what the benchmarks were and what these scans are actually testing for, not just sitting down and pressing a button and activating it, but seeing what these scans were truly doing, it opened up a whole nother world of possibilities for opportunity. So here we would run into trying to create the scan, and I first learned a little bit about IPs and running into issues with the subnet and learning about what CIDR numbers are, along with other things. And then after that, gathering those scan results, posting stuff, and reviewing them. So reviewing was an opportunity that I had to look through that report and kind of view what severity, what type of things, and potential vulnerabilities were posed on that actual system. And that was a huge opportunity that I took advantage of and was able to learn something while spending my time here. The next one was IBM Big Fix. Now this wasn't one that I had a whole lot of information on, also not a lot of opportunity to work on due to certain things. However, I did get with Pavel and a couple others multiple times to have our Big Fix sessions with other intern John Daly. Here we would observe what Pavel was doing, and he would thoroughly explain some of the stuff and material and why he was doing that, how he kept himself organized through those. So seeing how certain health check scans are ran at a big business level and how the patching and hardening of scripts was used in implementation to help secure that network and fix what wasn't working properly in the first place. So next was my research project with intern John Daly, and this was a project given by Srini and Wei Lee for us to come up with ways and look into security and talk about topics that we felt needed to be talked about, whether that's home security, business security, personal and online integrity went out. And so we took this opportunity to talk about a couple things. We split it up in two, and just to highlight some parts of the presentation that we thought were very key and important. One of them was ways to secure large amounts of passwords in any database. So we wanted to start with organizations at the large enterprise level and trying to figure out the most secure way to secure actual projects. So secure ways of doing this was by hashing and encryption. So this part allowed me to dive in and do some research on secure hashing algorithms, otherwise known as SHA, and you have 1, 2, and 3, along with other things such as bcrypt and other ways that are more new because some of those are outdated in ways of hashing passwords. It also opened up a view of salting passwords, and this would take that hash and it would take and salt that hash, so it would add maybe your year born along with your first name somewhere in the middle and the end of that, along with the email address into that password, so that way when these passwords aren't stored in a plain text file, it's stored being hashed. It makes it a lot harder for brute force and dictionary attacks to work. So I got to really dive in and found that to be very interesting and got to learn about. So the next thing was how to, create a safe home network. It's not every day that you live next to a black hat hacker, but there are still ways to secure your home network when you're online browsing and maybe going down a fishy site that you shouldn't be going now. And this opened up various ways to do that, so we hit on that a little bit. And the next thing was how to protect your online integrity when out in public. So if you're on Starbucks Wi-Fi or McDonald's Wi-Fi or any Wi-Fi for that matter, how to do that really securely, because it's very easy now to use tools, exploitation tools such as Kali Linux and others to use for packet sniffing, viewing what you are doing. And so how do you protect yourself from going out there? And that really let me dive into viewing, okay, what are the best ways to do this? Are there ways to, if you're saving files, if you're downloading things, if you're logging into your bank account to check if you have enough money to pay for that Frappuccino? Well, how can you do that safely and not have somebody oversee and overlook? And kind of went into the VPN world, got to find a little bit about that and how to safely browse with a VPN. So you heard kind of what I did. I like to share with you what I learned. And